All right, what up? Moneyball Investing here. We're covering Matterport. I did a deep dive on my free Substack newsletter. Feel free to subscribe here, where I do deep dives into stocks that I'm looking at, some of which I hold. In full disclosure, as of the time of this video and this writing, I do hold 250 shares of Matterport at around 12 to 14 bucks per share, somewhere in that range, average cost basis. I'm going to post this to my YouTube channel, also under Moneyball Investing. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when I post videos. And again, these deep dives are on my Substack, totally free. So if you want to subscribe, you'll get them right in your inbox. So let's get into what Matterport actually does, who they are, and why I'm so excited to be a shareholder. So Matterport is leading the digitization and datafication of the built world. So what does that mean? They've developed a spatial computing platform that allows users to turn physical spaces into dimensionally accurate and photorealistic digital twins. Think about this at a high level. COVID certainly, with the advent of COVID, we've really embraced, sort of teleworking, video communication, and Zoom was a COVID darling. But there's been, there are other video communication platforms out there like Skype and Microsoft Teams. But the point is digitization is everywhere. And so in-person has changed to digital communications through Zoom and other, Cisco WebEx and other platforms. Broadcast has become digital streaming through Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. Physical payments have turned into digital payments with PayPal, Square, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, all that stuff. Why are we not seeing, this rapid digitization adoption in buildings, commercial real estate, and physical spaces? Well, that's what Matterport is trying to tackle here. And as of right now, as of their Q2 earnings, they currently have over 400,000 subscribers, 5.6 million spaces under management in over 150 countries, and 15 billion square feet data points captured. Which gets stored into their spatial data library and makes their technology Cortex, which we're going to get real into in a second here. It makes Cortex smarter the more data that it collects. So let's get into the addressable market and some of the use cases for Matterport, right? Digitizing and sort of the datafication of the built world unlocks a lot of operational efficiencies and property value. But historically, real estate and physical spaces have been kept offline. Thereby underutilizing the wealth of data and information that can be leveraged to improve different aspects of the building's life cycle, from planning, construction, operations, documentation, appraisal, and marketing. Per the company's investor presentation, they estimate that their total addressable market currently is around $240 billion and could be as high as $1 trillion as the market matures. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. 1 trillion is, kind of nuts, but there's 4 billion buildings in the world right now with an estimated 20 billion spaces among those buildings. And sort of at these different penetration rates between 1% and 5%. And, Matterport's able to generate $1 to $5 per space per month. We're getting well into the double digit billions annual recurring revenue. And this is just at, a single digit penetration rate. So that's kind of why they're saying, hey, we think this total addressable market could actually be north of $1 trillion. But in order for that to happen, things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning technologies are going to have to become way more integrated into everyday society. And we're in the very, 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 very early innings of all of those things, right? I mean, there's only so much AI, machine learning, and deep learning out there. There's a lot of technologies that are kind of using these things, or they say they use them, they're buzzwords, but, it's going to be decades in order, for these things to kind of be perfected and be totally part of, everyday society. And so at that point, when more buildings are being built and there's more space out there and, there's more data to be collected, it's possible that the total addressable market is north of $1 trillion. But hey, 240 billion as of today is still a very, very big market and provides greenfield opportunity for growth. So, let's get into kind of what Matterport, who they serve, their different end markets. Retailers can manage thousands of store locations remotely. Why? think about, a store like Target or something that just has a bunch of locations across the nation. Well, they could use Matterport's technology in their stores, create these digital twins, store it to the cloud, and then if you're sort of an operations manager or something at Target, all of that would be accessible on your desktop, on your mobile, and you can make business decisions in the palm of your hand just because you are essentially holding a store in the palm of your hands. You have this, this digital replica of a certain store, and that's really important. Real estate agencies, they can provide open houses for hundreds of properties and thousands of people simultaneously. I actually know people that during COVID, they took virtual tours and ended up buying the house afterwards. There's some use cases for property developers, insurance companies. From the early stages of design, development, marketing, operations, insurance, building repair, maintenance, all these things, Matterport software provides customers critical tools and insights to drive cost savings, increase revenues, and optimally manage their buildings and spaces. And since Matterport's platform and their solutions have universal applicability across industries and building categories, the company has established a significant first mover advantage as it can address the entirety of this large market opportunity. What this really means is it doesn't matter if it's a retail store, if it's a house, if it's an airplane, a physical space, if it's a house that doesn't have anything in it yet, it's just being constructed, or a commercial building. It doesn't matter. They are sort of building category agnostic and industry agnostic. So not only are the use cases there are a lot of use cases. There's just a ton of different businesses that they can sell to. This is really, really, really disruptive and exciting stuff here. So now that I've told you what they do, let's get into actually how they do it, right? I keep saying that they're transforming buildings into data and that they're the business intelligence engine for the built world. And that's all nice, and there's a lot of buzzwords, but how are they actually doing this? Well, here's how. They built something called Cortex, which is their proprietary AI-driven software that uses deep learning and machine learning to recreate photorealistic 3D virtual replicas of an entire building, including its contents, equipment, and furnishings. The finished product is a detailed and dynamic replica of the physical space that can be explored, analyzed, and customized from a web browser on any device, including smartphones. So think about, like a floor plan or a map. This is a really good example. Photographs and floor plans, maps, they're helpful, but those are 2D, not 3D. So those are 2D representations. Therefore, there's limited information and they tend to be kind of static and rigid. This means they lack an interactive element that's critical to a holistic understanding of a building or physical space. Matterport's Cortex combats these limitations of static 2D images by eliminating the need for physical office visits. Cortex helps move buildings and spaces from offline to online and makes them accessible to customers in real time and on demand from anywhere. And what's even cooler is that each incremental capture of space grows the richness and the depth of Matterport's spatial data library. What this means is that as Matterport collects more data points, Cortex becomes more precise and more accurate. So Cortex is leveraging billions of data points that Matterport captures and they store, and it improves the 3D accuracy of its digital twins. And so more subscribers leads to more spaces captured. More spaces captured leads to more data. More data leads to a smarter Cortex, engine, if you will. And so, again, there's more use cases down here. This is really cool. Like a retailer can ensure that each store layout is up to the same level of code or brand requirements. Different brands, they pay retailers to have their, certain shelf space and, things like that. You would be able to, using Matterport's technology, actually see that and make sure that these stores are laid out the way that they're supposed to be laid out. And you could do that on a smartphone or a desktop. You don't actually have to go there and look, right? And kind of double check these things. You can just do it all online. So, factories, they can ensure machinery layouts meet, specifications and location guidelines. Property developers, they can assess the amount of natural heat and daylight coming in through specific windows. These are really cool use cases, if you ask me. And so artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies utilize spatial data to create robust virtual experiences that are dynamic, realistic, interactive, and informative, and it permits multiple viewing angles. And so, these advancements make costly cameras completely unnecessary for everyday scans, because a Matterport subscriber, they can scan their space by tapping a button on their smartphone. Matterport is a device agnostic platform. And because of this, I think that's propelling them to rapid scale, establishing them as the clear market leader for digitizing and indexing the built world. In this image right here, this is what, one of their digital twins looks like. And as you can see, there's rugs, there's tables, there's chairs, there's doorways, there's windows. It captures everything. Let's go into their growth strategies, okay? They kind of have this four-pronged approach. They want to unlock what they're calling the SaaS flywheel. So the company went public earlier this year through a SPAC, Gores Holding, and the cash that they raised is going to allow them to continue investing in product development. And so this R&D should ultimately improve the Cortex software engine. They're going to hire more engineers, hone the product, take bugs out of it, whatever. And that will allow Matterport to expand its solutions portfolio and cross-sell, upsell to subscribers. And that will allow them to keep subscribers on the platform for a longer period of time, which is efficient unit economics, high LTV, and at scale, they should be able to keep their acquisition costs low. They want to expand their use cases, right? I mean, right now, they have 404,000 subscribers. So the majority of these are probably everyday people, people who might own, small property developers that might own, a dozen different houses or something. They really want to start signing enterprise customers. These would be corporate deals with retailers or, large banks that have operations worldwide in gigantic buildings. And, that will lead to not only more use cases, but again, more data. And that's what we want here. We want more data for the Cortex platform. The better Cortex becomes, the easier it will be for Matterport to sell this. But there are some markets that they're not even in yet. They've identified manufacturing, oil and gas, and those are kind of the use cases above with machines and stuff that I was talking about. So if they get into these industries, this is what really makes this such a lucrative type of business. It's device agnostic and industry agnostic. It's international expansion, I think this speaks for itself, but they're estimating that less than 0.1% of the global building and physical spaces market is penetrated by digital transformation. And so a lot of the world's buildings are outside of the United States, right? I mean, Asia in particular has a ton of commercial real estate. They're using a land and expand model to sort of capitalize on the potential for geographic expansion. And this, in effect, creates network effects, allowing them to expand further into underpenetrated countries and unlock additional properties and spaces. And then lastly, they've got this third-party marketplace approach where basically what they want to do is develop strategic partnerships with leading software providers and enable more effective integrations, to sort of better its own marketplace. And so one of those is with Facebook. I have this video here. Again, we're not going to watch it. If you want to watch it, you can, kind of get into my newsletter, but they're doing some really interesting work with Facebook AI. So let's get into the financial results and the key performance indicators. So this table illustrates Matterport's financial results for 2019, 2020, and the first half of 2021, which is what they've reported most recently. So you can see that revenue grew 87% between 2019 and 2020, from 46 to 87. It almost doubled. Matterport generated this growth from all revenue streams. Look at this. Look at this. All four of their revenue streams increased year over year, significantly too. Subscription revenue, which is mainly what we want, that's going to be where the real high margins are, right? That grew by 68%, while product revenue nearly doubled from about 19 million to a little over 33 million between 2019 and 2020. This revenue growth has allowed Matterport to make meaningful investments in product development and marketing, thereby propelling more growth throughout 2021. I mean, check it out. Their product development was relatively flat year over year. SG&A, which includes sales and marketing, was incrementally up. But if you kind of look into the first half of the year, they're already almost have spent what they have on R&D just in the first half of the year, which on what they did the last 2 years. And SG&A expense is definitely up on a year over year basis. And so That's what I mean, that these results, this revenue increase and these margin increases have allowed them to reinvest back into the business, and they're trimming their losses. I mean, check it out. They're nearing break even. So for the first half of 2021, Matterport reported 56 million in total revenue and is on a run rate of 118 million as of their Q2 earnings. So this explosive growth is truly a tribute to the power of their underlying technology. Cortex is able to compound each new capture and piece of data added to Matterport's platform, thereby becoming smarter and stronger. And Matterport's ability to turn that data into insights with incremental data from new captures enables the company to develop new features for subscribers, thereby keeping them sticky. So in turn, Matterport's able to attract more subscribers, retain existing customers for longer periods of time. This leads to higher lifetime value per subscriber and allows Matterport to keep acquisition costs low. We can see this dynamic of these attractive unit economics in the summary tables, as illustrated by increasing net dollar expansion across their customer base. I mean, check this out. Well, I mean, you want your net dollar retention to be over 100%, but if you're in the 120 to 130%, that is elite. I mean, that is totally elite. And that makes sense that, this is why their margins are increasing, they're reducing their losses, and they're doing this across their entire suite of products. I mean, their margin profile is literally increasing across everything: subscription, product, license, services on a year-over-year basis. So what are my risks and concerns? Look, I know I'm super into this company and I'm really excited about what they're doing, but they do have competition, right? There are other, kind of 3D technology, 3D softwares out there. Zillow actually has its own 3D home tour software. And there are just other tools available in the market. So in my opinion, if Matterport wants to succeed in digitizing and indexing the physical world, it's going to have to not only identify, but more importantly, penetrate additional markets and use cases, and not be limited to just traditional real estate like houses and buildings and stuff. And then valuation, a little bit of a concern. As of the time of this writing, their market cap is 4.7 billion. Their trailing 12-month revenue is just over 100 million. So that's a 45x price to sales ratio. And so look, that's okay, for a company like this, in some ways. I mean, they're growing at an explosive rate. Their margins are increasing. They're trimming their losses. Their losses are narrowing. And so, they'll and again, they're going to have they should do well over 100 million in revenue this year for the first time ever. It's okay for a little premium to be baked in here, but personally, I would not be buying the stock where it's trading right now, which is between $19, to $22 a share on any given day over the last month. Like I said, my cost base is around 12 to 14, something like that, and I will buy more shares on dips accordingly. Have some bios with their leadership team. This guy, RJ Pittman, incredibly smart guy. He's raised a ton of venture capital before, so he's got deep relationships with investors. That's really important. He's former eBay, he's former Apple. He's just he's a rock star. And instead of just kind of talking about him, I highly recommend watching these two interviews. Jonah Lupton, who's very active on FinTwit, he had the opportunity to interview the CEO of Matterport, and then meet Kevin, who I'm a big fan of. This is a very, very long video, so you can kind of skip around if you'd like. But he also interviewed the CEO of Matterport, and they go over some really interesting growth catalysts and use cases. And so if you have the time, I definitely recommend checking both of these videos out. Besides that, I have some resources here to their investor relations page, their Q2 earnings presentation, and the S1 filing, which is the filing a company publishes when they are going public. And so again, this is just a newsletter for entertainment purposes, educational purposes. It's not a formal recommendation. Just want to thank you guys for watching this, reading this. Feel free to share it, subscribe it, like it, anything you can do. I'm really trying to get my name out there. I enjoy doing these write-ups. Again, I'm doing this for free. This newsletter is totally free. YouTube channel, obviously free. So feel, if you could subscribe, hit the like button, share it, it'd be much appreciated. And remember, comment. I want to engage with you guys. I want to know what you think. What risks do you see? Do you like Matterport? Do you not like it? Why? Let me know. Thanks.